What's going on, everyone? We are back for another live edition of the Bleed Los podcast, Carne Asada post-game show. Pop those bottles, everyone. We are going to the NLCS. Here with you tonight, we've got Cody, aka Canelo. We've got Anthony in the house, producer Roger gathering all the material over at Dodger Stadium. And as you know, I am Drea. Before we get into everything that happened in this amazing, crazy game tonight, we want to tell you about DodgersBeat.com. Stay up to date and in the know with all of the latest and most comprehensive coverage of the LA Dodgers. It is your one stop for articles, interviews, contests, merch, and more. Never miss a beat and check out DodgersBeat.com. Oh my God, fellas, NLDS in the books, champagne flowing. Kershaw is probably shirtless somewhere. Everything's right in the world. Anthony, talk to me. How did we make it through that game?
Honestly, you got to thank the Phillies. The two runs that we scored were on an error on the bases loaded walk. It was just the whole game was just abysmal for us on the plate. But yeah, I'm honestly still like in shock. I just don't know. I feel like I've seen us win in very crazy ways, and that's easily one of the craziest ways, especially in the playoffs, to kind of end your season. Like you can look over at the dugout of the Phillies side, and like a lot of stunned and shocked faces. They can't believe that that's the way they go out, basically. Something that you practice all the time in spring training, PFPs, and that's essentially the way you go out. So it might be a rough day one of spring training for a lot of the Phillies pitchers. In April. But yeah, I'm just still shocked, basically.
Yeah, Cody, take me through that ending. I mean, historic on so many levels. Like, you just don't think you're going to end it that way in the 11th inning. And I am still like, I have no words yet. So tell me what you thought of that ending.
Yeah, I mean, the first person I hit up after it, I sent the video to my brother and I said, hey, look, this is what I'm preaching. All you young kids out there playing sports, especially baseball, softball, literally the one thing you can do is just put it in play. And that's something we've seen a lot more, especially this season with a team like the Blue Jays and the Brewers. They're a team that doesn't strike out a lot. They just do the little things right, and putting it in play is one of them. And Pages just seems like he was reeling this entire series. Only one actual legitimate hit that touched outfield grass for him, and he just got a broken bat and then put the ball in play, and good things can happen. Make that team get the out. And in a pressure cooking moment like that for Kerkering, he made a mistake, didn't go to first base. Hae-Sung Kim's jetting down the line, and he ends up, I don't even think he touched home plate, so no one saw that. He never went back and touched it, but everybody was already celebrating. The game was already over. But yeah, I mean, the Dodgers had a lot of opportunities all day. They wasted a lot of them. This game continuously went to extra innings. Roki Sasaki threw a lot of pitches, but to end in that fashion, just baseball. That's all I could say is baseball. I mean, you don't see that much, especially with two teams that are pretty good. The Phillies had a lot of defensive gems today, so for them to lose on a bases loaded walk to tie the game and then a bases loaded error by the pitcher, I mean, this is going to hurt. And I know a lot of people around here, they're definitely in their feelings because, their season's not only over, but this core of players, you don't know if they're going to run it back. So the Phillies fans and their faithful, they're feeling this loss even more than probably any other loss that they've had before.
Yeah, it is going to be a different looking Phillies team the next time they're coming around, and they're definitely feeling it. People are definitely celebrating in the chat. Let's go Dodgers. Yeah, we can finally breathe a little bit for several days. So let us know what you thought of that 11th inning, of the ending of the NLDS and getting ready for the NLCS. We'd be happy to interact with you. But yeah, there's a lot of coaches out there of youth baseball leagues that are gathering a lot of the great plays from this entire series to be able to show their players, because I think the Dodgers provided some really great material, but amazing stuff. I mean, let's just talk about our dogs. Let's get into that. We had Glasnow starting off the game, and then we probably had to use a few more pitchers than we had expected to use, but we got to see some amazing stuff from Roki. I would argue that we have starting pitching dogs, and we have bullpen dogs. We got to talk about Anthony. What did you think of our pitching tonight?
Pitching was actually really, really good. Apart from, I think the only mistake was Emmett Sheehan not properly covering on that double play, and that ball gets away into the dugout. But yeah, like you said, these guys, Tyler Glasnow is kind of like a footnote now. He started off this game, and like a lot of people's worry was that he was kind of going to be the reason why we ended up losing this game. But you got to go out there. This is the reason why we have Tyler Glasnow in the rotation. You got to trust your guys, and he went out there and essentially dominated for 6 straight innings. The argument there was like whether you leave him out there for one more inning. I know people were kind of upset because he got taken out. I think it was 83 pitches that he had. Was his final tally. Hindsight 50-50. You risk it and go with Sheehan. Again, the only mistake he made in that inning was basically not properly covering on the double play. But I don't know. I just felt like the guy I came out most impressed with was actually Roki. The first time I've ever, what I know he's done it in the minor leagues, but I really don't get a chance to watch AAA ball like that. I get to see the highlights and stuff like that, but he looked really, really comfortable out there. I know the reason they didn't go past for a fourth inning, but I kind of got a glimpse into what like a Roki Sasaki start might look like next year, where he's kind of just like if he's on, careful because he might be unhittable. But so yeah, I can't really like find any more words to describe the 3 guys or 4 guys that came into this game. I think they held their job up. They did awesome. They kind of held it out there. There was some nervy moments, but they're dogs today. Today they earned their dog moniker. They're dogs today.
And that's coming from you, and you are our resident, dog meter expert. So I love that. Yeah, Cody, do you think that after seeing Roki coming out, multiple innings and really kind of, just showing all his lights out stuff, do you think that's going to do wonders for his confidence going into the NLCS and even into next season?
Yeah, I mean, from a bullpen perspective, this season, he is the best pitcher. He's the most dependable arm for Dave Roberts. To give the Dodgers 3 great innings today, starting from the 9th inning on, just terrific baseball from him. Everything from his story from the beginning of the year, the injury, the adversity he's had to face, rehabbing, coming back, to see what he's doing today. I'm texting my personal friend's thread and I'm like, dude, like this is the guy that was struggling to throw like 93 in like May. And now it seems like every pitch that's coming out of his hand that isn't that splitter is hitting 100, 101 miles per hour. And, I felt like he probably could have gone a little bit longer if they really wanted him to. He was technically built up to 5 innings in the minor leagues, but, those are some stressful pitches in the postseason. So I respect Dave's decision to just do 3 innings. Credit to the offense finally breaking through, because I wasn't too sure how long the bullpen was going to keep things tied at 1 apiece. I mean, we were asking for a lot as it is today. Glasnow kicked it off at the beginning, but the storyline today is just going to be, the bullpen. The biggest challenge for the Dodgers heading into October was their biggest advantage in this series. The Phillies bullpen blew 3 of the Dodgers wins this series, that they were at the losing pitcher. Sanchez, Luzardo, they looked fine. They gave up a couple runs in their start, but other than that, it was the Phillies bullpen that was the culprit for losing these games. And then at the end, the defense. Dodgers, their offense is probably the biggest question mark, and we'll definitely probably start discussing that a little bit in this show at the end, and especially as we preview the CS and whoever they're facing. That's their biggest challenge right now, is trying to get guys like Otani, Pages, Freeman, like all these guys clicking at the same time, because the bats, they only have 1 home run this series. That's the biggest issue for me moving forward. But we'll celebrate today and appreciate everything those bullpen dogs did, because they really they turned back into the bullpen dogs tonight.
Oh, they certainly did. And yeah, and I guess the Phillies had they brought out multiple dogs to try to kind of shut us down. I was a little surprised that they were going to bring in Luzardo, because it was my understanding that they would try to play him in their next game. But they saw the elimination on the wall. Anthony, were you surprised that we saw Luzardo tonight for 30 pitches?
No. Like you said, and I said it earlier in the series, you can't plan for hypothetical games. Game 5 is a hypothetical until you actually win in Game 4. You have to be ultra aggressive in that moment. And I mean, Luzardo was on essentially, like he had all his good stuff going. Um, you force him to make that change in the bullpen and kind of go to Kirkering, where they had a lot of good looks on him. But yeah, you can't really like.
Right.
I think a lot of Philly fans would probably tell you that if he's not in that game, they probably lose that game earlier. He kind of held them to as much as he could, and it's up to the Phillies offense essentially to score a run there.
Yeah, I definitely was kind of almost glad that they were breaking his pitch count. So for ever long as he stayed in, if it did go to a game 5, I was thinking, okay, that's going to kind of put their backs up against the wall, because I'm going to tell you, I did not want to go back to Philly, and I wanted every advantage I could get if that was the case. But yeah, you brought up Otani, guys, and I'm a little concerned about him. I think a lot of people are. His name keeps coming up, and I mean, his numbers for the postseason, they're not what we would expect from him. How worried are we about the NLCS and Otani?
I think it's a matter of who they face in the championship series. I would have to dive into the roster for the Cubs or the Brewers and be like, all right, how many lefties do they have in their bullpen and starting rotation? Because I think the Phillies, out of all teams, especially over the last couple of years that Otani's been a Dodger, the Phillies probably have the best pitchers on their staff that can kind of attack Otani. And it was really brought to light in this series where you're playing more than just, a 3-game set in 3 straight days where anything can kind of really happen. But yeah, the Phillies did a tremendous job shutting down arguably the best hitter in baseball. And he downright looked lost. Indecisive swing decisions, swinging at pitches outside the zone. I've never seen Otani take so many pitches either down the plate or at the corner. Like if they're calling it in your previous at bats, odds are they're going to continue calling it Shohei. So you got to swing the bat at least. And Dave Roberts even got on him last night during the post game where, some of the media were asking, they were like, is Otani pressing? What do you see with Otani? And he just flat out said the same things I'm saying, and that we're all seeing is that he's being too indecisive up there, and he doesn't really have a plan at the plate. And those pitchers on the Phillies side, they had a plan. They executed that plan for the most part. Otani only had 1 hit this series. I mean, you can even argue, say, they intentionally walked him in this game, which set up the game-tying walk for Mookie Betts. I honestly, if I'm playing devil's advocate here, I'm saying, you might as well just face Otani because I'm not sure he would even come through in that situation with how he has been swinging the bat lately. Thankfully, the Dodgers clinch in Game 4. They have an off day tomorrow. They have an off day on Saturday. And I believe the NLCS doesn't kick off until Monday. So they have the rest of the weekend off for them to reset, work out, do whatever they need to do. But I am a little concerned about Otani. Since that Red Series where he hit 2 home runs, had the couple RBIs, he's only hit 148 with a 603 OPS. He's been one of the worst Dodger hitters in the lineup next to, Andy Pages. Freddie Freeman's also been struggling as well. So yeah, he needs to get going if the Dodgers want to repeat, especially during a 7-game series where, there's going to be some bullpen performances that we will see how they perform. But I feel like whoever they play, it's going to be back and forth because we saw Roberts do a punt game yesterday. And I imagine that's going to be probably the plan of attack throughout a 7-game series like they did with the Mets last year. So you're going to need Otani. You're going to need your top dogs to set the tone at the plate. I'm confident he'll get corrected, though. He's one of the best players in baseball for a reason.
Yeah, that's I know that if he is going on a cold streak, it probably won't stay cold very long. But what kind of concerned me today was Teo. I had never really seen an at bat that was like that. Anthony, what were your thoughts when we had the bases loaded, Teo up, and it just was like a guaranteed score if he had just taken a better at bat?
His thoughts were because Mookie worked that walk, and I'm like, this dude Duran is kind of shook. Just don't swing the bat at all. Um, just kind of go up there, take 4 pitches, and just see what happens. And as you can see at the breakdown, all 4 pitches that he saw were completely just out the strike zone. He went out there chasing, just didn't have a game plan going up there. So that was the frustrating part. And for a moment there, it kind of sunk in like we might be in trouble because I didn't think we would find a way to score another run essentially. And it took like essentially a miracle here, an error by the Phillies to kind of give us the win. But that's where I kind of started spiraling because I started playing that long game in my head. I'm like, okay, well, where do we go from here? We're 1-1. This is kind of trending towards extra innings. And like the further that I thought about it into the future, I'm like, if this goes 12 innings, if this goes 13 innings, like what happens then? Like, who are you going to throw out in the bullpen? You can't throw Kershaw out again. The thought of rookie, I'm like, no, rookie is only limited to like 3 innings. And then like when I started going down, I'm like, do I throw Robleski in this game? So I was kind of doing all like the mental math and gymnastics in my head. I'm like, how the hell are we going to win a game? Basically, that's where I was at. And what I'm scared of going into a 7-game series, if the bats don't find a way to stay hot or spark or something, is that we're going to look foolish against a team like Milwaukee or a team like even the Cubs because their pitching kind of scares me. Mizorowski on the Brewers, I just have for whatever reason, he kind of reminds me of Josh Hader that one year where he was kind of just nasty and dominant. I feel like I'm having like visions of him kind of just making Otani and like Muncy look foolish essentially.
I'm a little worried about there's reasons why I'm worried about both of those teams, and we'll kind of like as we go on with the show and kind of see where that score is because the Cubs and the Brewers are playing right now. But just kind of want to draw attention to a comment I just saw in the chat. We have 8 wins to go, and so there's the countdown. And the Dodgers, this is from QQ. The Dodgers found a way to win, and that's all that matters. And so, Cody, I'll just turn this to you. When the going gets tough, do you think that's when we see the Dodgers play their best baseball and they find a way no matter what?
Yeah, I mean, especially the last 2 seasons, it seems like once October air, hits, this team kind of sets up and focuses. Even though today the offense was as frustrating as it was, their pitching staff today kept them in the game. From Glass now to Alex to Sasaki, all up and down, they handled it today. It was up to the offense to eventually come through, and they did it in the weirdest way possible today: a bases loaded walk and a bases loaded air to walk it off. But yet, at the end of the day, the Dodgers are playing as a unit. They are playing as a team. They're not playing for individual stats, similar to what Mookie Betts said during the regular season, where he was like, I'm just going to do what I can do to make, the boys win, like to help the guys out. And that's what you need for the postseason. Nobody on this team should care about, like, honestly, look at the Yankees. Aaron Judge had like a 1200 OPS. He had a critical home run in that game 3 to force a game 4. And it ended up being for nothing because the rest of the team couldn't hit. And the Dodgers, although they've had like 1 or 2 players struggle, the bottom of the order picked up the bats. Kike Hernandez came alive. Miguel Rojas showed up in some clutch moments. From top to bottom, everybody has a role in this team, whether it's Ha-Seong Kim, Justin Dean, Alex Call, a pitcher in the bullpen. Clayton Kershaw taking the clunker yesterday helped out this bullpen a lot, because what did I say? I tweeted it out. I said, you're not going to see Alex Vesia, Roki Sasaki, and Emmett Sheehan pitch in a loss, and they pitched today for a reason. They wouldn't have been available if they pitched yesterday and they still lost that game, which changes the entire outcome of the series. So, for that theory out there, punting games is something the Dodgers have done. I don't think they ultimately wanted to definitely lose 8-2 yesterday, but leaving Kershaw out there, they did it for a reason, and it looked frustrating at the time. Everybody thought the sky was falling, but honestly, I was surprised I kept my composure about it. I came into today saying, you know what, they're gonna win today. They cut it close, because I was starting to lose a little faith there today when it was 1-1 for a lot of the innings, and then they couldn't score at all. But it's all part of the plan right now. They're executing, they're playing together, and good baseball is ahead of this team.
Yeah, I think you make a good point because we hadn't lost in so long. We were on a really great winning streak and we had been kind of, just completely dominant in the playoffs. We lose one game and you see a lot of reaction online. Last playoff round, we had lost 5 games total on our way to the World Series. So losses are part of the playoff run. People usually, unless you're like the 76 Reds, you're not going to just go straight through and win 11 or 13 and it doesn't work that way. So I know there's a lot of doom and gloom because we care about the team so much. But Anthony, do we have to have more faith in the team even when we do have to suffer a loss here and there?
I think the more it was kind of more doom and gloom is because it's a 5 game set, and like the
Mhm.
just anything can happen in 5 games. You really don't know. With 7 games, it's more easier to drop a game because you do have more opportunities to win the series. But yeah, yesterday I think it was more just the way the offense was trending, and like Yamamoto not having it. He's our number one guy. A lot of people would argue a lot of other things, but he's our number one guy, and he kind of got hit around yesterday. So that's why it's kind of more of a doom and gloom. And to start the game, the offense really didn't do itself any favors as well, too. So I think that was kind of just like uh a lot of Dodger fans have seen a lot of playoff games and they could feel like this was trending towards a loss. Thankfully it didn't end up in a loss, but yeah, I think you just have to be more patient. I know for sure I have to be more patient. I'll probably have more patience in the next round just because it's 7 games. I'm not gonna lose my mind over if they drop the first game because there's still plenty of baseball to play. But yeah, I think the fear of actually having to get on a plane and go play a game in Philadelphia, I think that was what was looming in the back of a lot of Dodger fans' head.
I think so. Even the young Dodger fans in my life, my own students, were like walking into class and they're like, "I'm scared, miss. This is a scary day," because I mean, we just love the team so much. But I don't think we're alone in that. When you see how other fan bases react to their own team losing, this is just something that's a part of the game. It's a part of sports, especially part of baseball. We just don't want to see our team go down. And now we're going to be in the final rounds, the final four, and I'm so excited. But I think today what kept coming into my mind was Kershaw from yesterday. And if we were not going to advance for whatever reason, I didn't want that to be the last outing that we would have ever seen from him. And I really like Mookie Betts' comments today. So I believe it was in the last 24 hours, he said about Kershaw, he's going to have a statue in front of Dodger Stadium. If you let 2 innings ruin that, then you don't know baseball. And I like that Mookie went to bat for Kershaw, because we do have to remember all of the amazing things. Even if Kershaw hasn't been the strongest in playoffs, he's still Clayton Kershaw. So Cody, talk to me. Do you think we're going to see Clayton Kershaw in the next round, or what's your take on all that chatter about him in the last 24 hours?
Well, I think, it does suck, seeing, Kershaw being left out there to kind of just eat it. Tanner Scott wasn't available. We didn't learn about that until after the game. And then he ends up being removed from the roster altogether due to getting, a procedure done. He'll be out for the league championship series, could return for the World Series. Dave Roberts did seem pretty confident about that. But I think Kershaw's role on this roster is probably safe, because the only guy I could have seen replacing him was Justin Robleski, to give him another left-handed option that can pitch multiple innings. So now I feel like the Dodgers kind of have 2 guys that they can go with to pitch bulk innings. That could be Robleski or it can be Kershaw. One or the other, that's going to be their role for probably the CS and the World Series if they get there. As unfortunate that is for Clayton Kershaw to go out, Dave Roberts made a decision. Last year was Brent Honeywell. Yesterday was Clayton Kershaw. And it's just weird for you to see it for a first bound, Hall of Famer to be eating it for like a playoff team in the postseason. Like you would see like a pitcher that they're going to get ready in DFA the following week. It's just a different type of thing we've never seen before. But I think Kershaw will be on the roster upcoming for this series. And I also think he will get another opportunity to pitch, and we'll see what happens.
Okay. So, I mean, we've got a little more time in the playoffs, so I'm kind of excited to see how Dave Roberts manages and kind of what the roster is going to look like. So it isn't over yet. We still have a lot more fun to look forward to. I think we may have lost Anthony. So until we see him pop in again, let me get your thoughts on the catcher situation, because we had Smith in there today. I was halfway thinking that we might see Workvet. For some reason, I think I saw you, perhaps you tweeted that too. Might we see him in the NLCS?
Yeah, I think it would be smart, the Dodgers, to just continue running 3 catchers. There could be an opportunity to say, hey, Ben, like, look, we needed you because, Will Smith's hand wasn't good to go, not an everyday backstop, but he started back-to-back games. He looked fine behind the plate today. I think the biggest thing, the reason why we were very hell-bent on keeping Benny back there was just because it's something when I said to Anthony during one of the pregame shows was, if it ain't broke, then don't fix it. And their combination of using Rortvet and then bringing Will Smith later in the game just seemed to work. And I like that. And I like the pitch calling, even though Yamamoto, Blake Snell call their own pitches. There's also just selling the pitches as a catcher as well. Rortvet's been better at framing. He kind of has more composure back there. I don't think it's crazy to say that he's a better defensive catcher than Will Smith. But other than that, Will Smith's going to get the starts if he's healthy, because he's a top 25 hitter in the league, and you can't have that sitting on the bench missing 2, maybe 3 at bats in a game. So if Will Smith is good to go, he's going to be the starting catcher. He will start every single game, probably for the rest of the postseason, as long as his hand is healthy. But I do think Rushing and Rortvet should probably still be on the roster. I don't see any other position players that they would really add. I imagine Conforto's tenure is pretty much done as a Dodger. There's no real shot for him to make the CS or World Series roster. But I think kind of just what we saw yesterday, the pitching just didn't look good. So a lot of us kind of said, maybe it's Ben Rortvet. Maybe he was the guy behind the plate that was making things work behind there. At the end of the day, they got it done today. The pitching looked fantastic today, and Will Smith caught every single inning. So credit to him, credit to Glasnow, credit to all those pitchers. They were on the same page, and it looked good. So, we'll see what happens the rest of this series.
Oh my God, I'm so happy we get to talk about a whole another series next week. It's going to be a little bit busier because there's less days off in between. But Anthony, if you're looking ahead, just to kind of give your initial thoughts on what do you think the Dodgers need to tighten up the most between now and the NLCS, since we have several days to prepare?
It's going to be their offensive approach. I mentioned it before I think the series started, or early on before when the series was going on. A lot of people are going to point to the bullpen as one of the weaknesses, is why they don't end up being eventual world champions. But at this point, you can tell the offense is kind of stagnant. It doesn't really have a spark, and it's kind of like relying on big moments here and there. But for me, the offense is going to be the key. The starting pitching has been still very dominant, very steady since the regular season, and the bullpen guys are starting to find their rhythm and find a groove for them that works. Essentially, you now know who your high leverage guys are and now your low leverage guys are. But right now, it's the offense is kind of stuttering, and you want to figure it out before you face a team like Milwaukee or Chicago, or potentially further if you look further into the World Series, like the Blue Jays, who look unstoppable right now.
They do look unstoppable right now. I mean, I've luckily been able to catch some of those games and trying to imagine the matchups, but I'm just excited that we're still in this dance. But yeah, who would pitch Cody on, was it Monday when we start the next round? Who's lined up for that?
Yeah, I mean, they can realign it however they want it. So the traditional LCS format is 2 off, 3 off, and then 2. I think the Dodgers are probably going to go with Blake Snell game 1, Otani game 2, just to line it up for that off day. And then the travel day, and then you have 3 straight games. And I think that's when you're going to go with your traditional, pitching set. So then Yamamoto would probably get game 3, game 4 would go to Glass now. And then if you don't want to start anybody on like short rest or whatever, you could see maybe Kershaw get a start as a bulk inning guy, Emmett Sheehan get a spot start, or maybe they just start Blake Snell again on traditionals rest, and then you got the final 2. So the Dodgers, them clinching now sets things up for the next series. They kind of can do whatever they want, but I imagine they want to have Otani pitch and then have an off day like they did with Philly in this series, while they were reluctant to even use him in the wild card series in games 1 and 2, because they don't want him to pitch one day and then go back to hitting the next day, because they've seen the stats this season and they just aren't worth it, especially when he's already struggling at the plate right now. But the Dodgers are in a really good spot. They're just going to be waiting possibly later until Saturday night to see who they're going to be facing, whether they're going to be taking a flight to Milwaukee or if they're going to stay home and host the Cubs. So either way, they'll have their eyes glued to the screen just as we will, but they're in a really good spot since they clinched today.
I kind of want them to stay home and open it here in LA. I think that would be a huge advantage. And I kind of would like to see an NLCS with the Cubs and the Dodgers. I really have a lot of faith in Dave Roberts and his ability to manage. I know he takes a lot of heat for the decisions he makes, but we don't have all the data that he has. And he usually has, the advantage of all the pieces of the puzzle and the foresight to know that he's managing for today and into the future if he needs to. So I think we just have to just really trust that. But I see a really great comment in the chat. The MVP of the game. That's from Guy Kaneshiro. And he says Roki is his MVP. Anthony, who would your MVP of the game be today?
I agree with them. Roki Sasaki won you this game. His ability to go there for 3 innings and shut down the Phillies lineup was very, very clutch. Other than that, I'd give a special shout out to Tyler Glasnow. He set the tone early on, kind of shutting down the Phillies for 6 innings. So if I had to share the reward for them, it'd be Tyler Glasnow first and Roki Sasaki. Those 2 guys won us the game today.
Love it. Yeah. Cody, would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, if they gave out, series awards for the division series, I would probably say Roki would probably take that away. Pitched in both games in Philadelphia in games 1 and 2, gets the save in both of those outings, gets the 1 out, critical situation with runners on in that second game to close it out, to push us up 2-0 in a hostile crowd. And then he comes into, today's game, pitches 3 innings, looked dominant, pretty much unhittable out there. And the Dodgers, they got everything they needed and more. We're really getting the guy that they, that many teams around the league wanted to get this winter, and to get him now fully unlocked in the month of October on their quest to repeat as champions was just, it was a surprise to all of us, but it was something they needed to happen because of just how bad the bullpen was. For Dave Roberts to have this guy in his back pocket, whether it's going to be closing games or it's going to be doing things like he did today, pitching 3 innings of work, that's just a huge advantage the Dodgers have over a lot of other teams. Yeah, I think he's the MVP of this series today, especially Glasnow shoved. I mean, there were so many people worried about Glasnow today. I tried to temper all those worries. I was fully confident in Glasnow pitching above average today. But if you looked at his career playoff stats when he was with the Rays, it wasn't really good. 5.6 ERA, losing record. You know, we remember facing him in the World Series. He didn't look good in that 2020 Fall Classic, but you know, that's a long time ago, and he missed all of last October with his elbow injury. So I'm pretty sure he was eager to get out there in Dodger Stadium and Dodger Blue and actually make a postseason start for the team that gave him a 6-figure contract. So, and he delivered on all cylinders today. The velocity was the fastest he's thrown all year, and the command was there. They actually just said that the reason why he left today, it wasn't due to just Dave Roberts pulling him. He had cramps. So we got a little bit of everything with Tyler Glasnow today. The eventual cramp injury that he's feeling, that even showed up today. So everybody was there. But yeah, good start from Glasnow. It'll be interesting how they use him in the championship series, because I imagine he will start a game, but could they use him out of the bullpen again in either in games 1 or 2? We'll see if Dave Roberts gets creative there.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how he manages. I was so impressed with him last year when he, just seemed like he put on a masterclass for us. And I really am excited that they get a little time to plan for the next round and to see who, how they would match up against the next team. But if you had to just pick the team, Anthony, who do you want to see and what do you expect to see next week as the highlight?
Actually, I would like to see the Milwaukee Brewers. I think if memory serves me correct, we didn't win a single game against them this season.
No.
I feel like they just, there we go. They just completely dominated us from all aspects. Yet the Dodgers weren't healthy at the time, completely healthy like they are now. But I would like to see that rematch, kind of a rematch of the 2018 NLCS. It went 7 games. Teams are very, very different. I think the only guys left on that team is Yelich and Kershaw, and if you include Dave Roberts as well too, as he's left. But I would like to kind of see that rematch again, kind of see where we're at against them.
It would be kind of a fun arc if it does go in that direction, because they didn't beat us or we didn't beat them in the regular season, and then we can come have get avenged in the next round. Cody, who do you want to see? Is it the Cubs? I kind of want to see the Cubs.
Honestly, I like either matchup. I think the team that would give the Dodgers the most fits will be the Brewers. I do think the Brewers will advance, whether if they lose today, I do think they would probably win a game 5. I just think they're a better overall team, but sometimes the best team doesn't win in the postseason in these series. So, but yeah, I think a 2018 NLCS rematch. I mean, they took the Dodgers to the brink game 7. That's when we had a clutch Cody Bellinger, October hero was born. Walker Buehler made the start on short rest there as well before, to help clinch them get to a World Series. So, and it would actually be a very good storyline for baseball. You got the billionaire Dodgers organization going against the Midwestern, small payroll Milwaukee Brewers. It kind of just defeats the argument where, only the teams that spend big get to this spot, because I would say the Brewers probably have a better shot to beat the Dodgers in the postseason than any other team in the league. I know we put a lot of credit to the Phillies, but the Phillies had a lot of the same problems that the Dodgers usually have, which is where they're very boom or bust on offense. And if they don't get going, we saw what happened. The Phillies top of the order hitters, between Bohm, Turner, Harper, besides yesterday, they were completely absent. The Dodgers are seeing a similar issue going on with some of their hitters. The Brewers, on the other hand, they got guys you've never even heard of just contributing to the team. And they are a team that puts the ball in play. They play really good defense. They steal bases, and that's one thing the Dodgers struggle with, is keeping runners on. And I guarantee you a Brewers team will take advantage of a Will Smith who's nursing a fractured hand. We kind of saw the Phillies start doing that a little bit yesterday with a double steal. Will Smith wasn't able to throw out a runner today either. But that'll be a fun matchup, though. I think that it's 2 aesthetically pleasing teams who do things in a different way, which is just what baseball is.
Absolutely. So I mean, I guess I would be excited either way. I'm just so happy that we're going to go and I can buy some more Dodgers merches if I needed any more, but definitely excited because I wanted to try to jump in next week and get to Dodger Stadium. And I was waiting for the NLCS to do that. So I am going to have you guys probably hold down one of the games for the pre or post game show while I go enjoy that. But yeah, that's going to be it for my notes. If there's any words that you have, Anthony, to kind of close us out.
The final words, kind of speechless overall. Weird, very, very weird game. Uh, and I also thought about it too. The Cubs would also be a great matchup because we opened up the season against them in Tokyo, so it'd kind of be a full circle moment on the season kind of deal. But final words, I'm glad I don't have to watch and stress over postseason baseball until probably Monday. But yeah, that's my final words.
I know the Dodgers are going to put me in the hospital. My heart was like it was stopping at certain points this week. But yeah, Cody, just take us home. Tell us where we can find your articles and then close out our show.
Yeah, obviously this game's going to give us a lot to talk about. You know, we'll have all the post-game interviews. Steve Webb and I do a really good job on that, giving you that in the with the ability to read it with your eyes, and get more in-depth breakdowns on DodgersBeat.com. Definitely with the next couple days off, we'll be brainstorming kind of ideas. You know, what's up with Tanner Scott, Clayton Kershaw, you know, Andy Paz, all that stuff. And then once we find out who we're playing on Saturday, what it's looking like, then we'll start breaking down this upcoming NLCS, which will kick off on Monday. But Roger, I know, is working hard behind the scenes, getting all the interviews as well. That'll be up on the YouTube channel. So make sure you check that out. Check the website out. It really helps us out.
Definitely do that, and also check out our social media because we'll be posting and kind of just making sure we repost all of those ways you can kind of check out the stuff on DodgersBeat.com and the stuff on the Bleed Lows Podcast Network site. So all of the great stuff that all the people here and behind the scenes are working to get you all up to date as we get ready for the NLCS. You can find me, Drea, at Ravine Queen 1958. You can find Anthony on X and Instagram at Anthony Acosta _, and you can find Cody at Snavely Cody 6 on X. So definitely check us out. And yay, guys, it's time to really celebrate. And just big congratulations to the Dodgers. You did it. And we will see you as we get ready for the NLCS. Let's go, Dodgers.